Hi, everyone. I thought I'd start this video by asking you a question I ask all of my students when we start talking about behavior in our teacher preparation program here at Florida Gulf Coast University. So that question is a true or false question. Only struggling teachers experience challenging behaviors in their classroom. So again, true, false, only struggling teachers experience challenging behaviors in their classroom. Feel free to pause if you want some time to think this one over. And I'll go ahead and say false. Okay, this is something that we really emphasize in our teacher preparation program, and it's something important for all teachers to hear. There's this idea in our field that only teachers who struggle experience challenging behaviors, and that's just not true. All teachers experience challenging behaviors. If you were a classroom teacher and you're experiencing problem behaviors among your students in your classroom, it does not mean you were a struggling teacher. It just means you're a teacher. Okay, so one of the things that I encourage all of you to do, rather than viewing behavior management challenges as a sign of ineffective teaching, to embrace behavior management as an inherent component of teaching. So in other words, just like we work on academic skills with our students, we also work on behavioral skills. We work on supporting students from a behavioral perspective, just like we do with an academic perspective with our students. Okay, so false. All teachers experience challenging behaviors. Experiencing challenging behaviors doesn't mean that you are a struggling teacher. It just means that you are a teacher. Okay, so two components of applied behavioral analysis that help me navigate and support students with challenging behaviors, as well as empower educators with experiencing these behaviors in classrooms. The first one is to be curious rather than judgmental when it comes to problem behavior. So in the world of applied behavioral analysis, we have a saying that all behavior is rooted in environmental context. So in other words, we can't address a behavior without considering the context in which it occurs. So let's be curious about those contexts. Let's look at what could be triggering that problem behavior. Maybe the student got into an argument with their friend before walking into our classroom, and that triggers problem behaviors. Maybe they're not quite sure how to complete an assignment or an activity, and that triggers problem behaviors. Or let's see what students are accessing in terms of why those problem behaviors might be happening. Maybe that student's accessing tons of attention contingent on problem behavior, and we know, oh, that student doesn't have extensive expressive language skills. So maybe that form of problem behavior is the only real reliable, consistent way that student has of accessing wants or needs, or maybe it's avoidance, escape, maintain behavior, going back to those academic skill deficits where maybe our student doesn't have the prerequisite math or reading skills to complete a task. And so avoidance escape is incredibly reinforcing because they can't do that assignment anyway. So we want to be curious, not judgmental. Look at what's happening in the environment before and after problem behaviors occur so we can better support students in classroom settings. So that's one, being curious, not judgmental when it comes to problem behavior. The second one is the importance of changing our behavior as service providers. So another component of applied behavioral analysis, before our students are going to change their behaviors, we as service providers, classroom teachers, behavior specialists, we need to change the way that we're interacting with students and or the environments in which our students are receiving instruction. So going back to my examples earlier, maybe we implement a check-in system. If our student is frequently coming into our classroom and engaging in problem behaviors, and we find out by having conversations with that student, they're having some issues with peers before our class, and that's triggering problem behaviors. Let's have a check-in system with that student where we can check in, support that student with becoming more aware of their emotions, regulating their emotions, reflecting on how they're feeling, and being more successful in our classroom. Going back to my students who maybe have limited expressive language skills, maybe we're introducing and teaching and reinforcing the use of PECS or another AAC device. Maybe we are scaffolding instruction, bringing interest and experiences into activities to make avoidance escape less reinforcing for our students. In other words, we can positively impact our students' behavior by A, being curious, not judgmental when it comes to behavior, and looking at environmental variables contributing to behavior, and B, based on that understanding, adapt our interactions and our environments to better facilitate student success.